For Whom the Bell Tolls. Ernest Miller Hemingway, born in 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois, is one of the most representative writers of 20th century American literature. During World War I, he served as an ambulance driver, directly witnessing the horrors of war and the suffering of humanity, experiences that became the cornerstone of his literary world. With his unique, concise yet powerful prose, stripping away unnecessary embellishments to confront the essence of life, Hemingway opened a new horizon for American literature. In the 1920s, he was active in Paris, where he mingled with Gertrude Stein, Scott Fitzgerald, and other expatriate writers, earning recognition as a leading figure of the lost generation. His first novel, The Sun Also Rises, 1926, brought him critical attention, and subsequent works, such as A Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and The Old Man and the Sea solidified his global reputation. Hemingway's works center on the fragility and suffering of human existence, as well as an awareness of death, but they also depict the solitary struggle of individuals to preserve their beliefs and values amidst such harsh realities. In 1954, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, marking the pinnacle of his literary achievements. Though he ended his own life in 1961, one of his masterpieces, For Whom the Bell Tolls, 1940, is set against the backdrop of the Spanish Civil War, exploring in depth how an individual's life and death are intricately connected to the fate of an entire community. Robert Jordan was a young man from America. He could have lived an ordinary life, teaching at a university, surrounded by books and students, but that path was not meant for him. When the Spanish Civil War broke out, he threw himself into the fight. He chose to stand with the Republicans, resisting the fascist regime. On the day he was sent deep into the Sierra Mountains of Spain, he carried a heavy load of explosives on his back. His mission was simple, yet perilous: blow up a bridge. Once the battle began, cutting off enemy supply lines would be critical. Success would give the Republicans an advantage. Failure could collapse the entire operation. Robert Jordan was dispatched to the remote Sierra de Guadarrama Mountains, where he sought out a band of guerrilla fighters, under the nominal leadership of a man named Pablo. But it was Pablo's wife, Pilar, who was the true leader, strong-willed, commanding, and unshaken in her resolve. Pablo was a man who had fought long enough to lose the fire in his eyes. Survival had become more important than ideals. In contrast, Pilar's unyielding spirit held the group together. Between these fighters, distrustful, afraid, each carrying their own hopes and fears, Robert had to somehow push forward with the plan. That evening, Robert met a young woman, Maria, her black hair cropped short. When Robert first arrived at the guerrilla camp, Maria was already there. Maria's story was one of deep scars. Her parents were killed by fascist forces, and she herself had been captured, brutally tortured, and raped. Rescued at last, she now hid among the guerrillas under Pilar's protection. With her short, shorn hair and haunted eyes, she was a fragile, wounded soul. Their first encounter was brief and ordinary, but they left an indelible mark on each other. Maria, upon seeing Robert, felt gratitude, respect, and an unexplainable sense of relief. Robert, seeing her vulnerability and purity, was drawn to her instantly. A seed of love and a desire to protect her took root in that moment. "Maria, are you on our side?" "Robert, I most certainly am." Maria gazed at him, as if he were her salvation. Robert, inner monologue. How can someone so broken still be so pure? From the very start, they found comfort and solace, simply in each other's presence. Robert saw her pain, not with pity, but with profound respect, cherishing her as a person, not a victim. Maria, too, instinctively trusted Robert as if he was the only hope of reclaiming the life she had lost. "Maria, do you think you could like me?" "Robert, I already do." Their exchanges were brief and simple, yet they captured how quickly they had come to depend on each other. Because of her trauma, Maria felt ashamed of her body and her past. But Robert never saw her as tainted. Instead, he embraced every part of her. "Maria, my hair is ugly, isn't it?" "Robert, no. I love your hair." Her hair had been forcibly cut by her captors, a mark of humiliation. But Robert cherished her exactly as she was. "Maria, my body, it's not the same as it was." "Robert, you're perfect exactly as you are." "Robert, you are the most precious person to me just as you are." "Maria, even though I'm like a broken piece of pottery?" "Robert, you're not broken. You're strong." Robert's unwavering acceptance and love became Maria's greatest comfort and healing. In his presence, she could finally believe she was worthy of love. Before long, they were completely intertwined. Robert affectionately called her "my little rabbit," and Maria, though seeing him as a hero, came to love him simply as the man he was. Maria: "What will happen to us when the war is over?" Robert: "When the war is over, I'll take your hand and we'll go anywhere you want." Robert: "I'm happy because you're here with me." Maria: "I feel like I was born to love you." Their love blossomed in the brief moments. They could steal, all the more precious because death loomed over every minute. As Robert drew up plans, wired explosives, and calculated the timing of the bridge demolition, his real challenge lay in navigating the fears and mistrust among his companions. Pablo, growing increasingly defiant, could sabotage the whole operation. Even Pilar and the others, though they believed in Robert, were torn between hope and fear. Throughout it all, Robert and Maria clung to the fragile dream of life after the war, describing a small house under a tree, a vegetable garden, a dog, quiet mornings with coffee, and peaceful nights combing Maria's hair. Maria: "Will you brush my hair when it grows back?" These visions were more than fantasies. They were the only hope they had, the fragile proof that, even in hell, life could still be dreamed of. Finally, the operation began. Under the cover of darkness, Robert, Pilar, and the others moved toward the bridge. Their hands trembled as they set the charges, but Robert never wavered. Gunfire cracked, explosions shook the mountains, the bridge collapsed, and the Republican offensive surged forward at the cost of too many lives. Wounded and unable to move, Robert made his final stand, sending Maria away to survive. She begged to stay, but Robert gently insisted. "Maria, I'll stay with you." Robert: "No, you must live." Maria: "Without you, I'm nothing." Robert: "No, you must live. Our happiness doesn't depend on both of us surviving." Maria: "Will we meet again?" Robert: "I'll think of you always." In the end, Robert's ultimate act of love was letting her go. As Maria was led away, Robert lay alone, recalling their brief, beautiful love, proof that even amidst violence, he had been capable of loving and being loved. Robert inner monologue: "Love is so short, but forgetting is so long." Maria and Robert's love story ends with death, but it transcends personal love, becoming a symbol of life and hope in the face of war. Hemingway contrasts love and death to show that love, however, brief, is stronger than death itself. With the enemy closing in, Robert took his final position, finger on the trigger. As the sound of approaching boots filled the air, he understood this was not just his fight. The bell tolled for him, but it tolled for everyone. For whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. Even in the wreckage of war, the purest love can take root. Robert and Maria's love, fleeting yet eternal, is Hemingway's enduring testament to the fragile beauty of life itself.